downswinger coming up from Keegan. Toshack must be for Fairclough. Forward for Toshack, who'll let it go. Fairclough. Good.
And does, but it's blocked by Donachie. Toshack! Oh!
He didn't chase the spotlight. He shaped what it pointed at. While others shouted with flair, John Toshack moved with calculation. A man who didn't ask to be seen, only to be felt when it mattered. Kevin Keegan was the face, but Toshack was the force behind it. A striker built like a wall, but he didn't just hold ground. He created space, made time, absorbed the storm. He was the system inside the chaos, the steel behind the fire, no flash, just function, and function won titles. At Liverpool, he didn't need the crowd's roar. He gave them reason to roar. At Swansea, he didn't request control. He took responsibility and rebuilt the club from its knees. And when the game moved to foreign tongues, to stadiums where flags flew differently, he spoke with the same language. Discipline, vision, ruthlessness without noise. Toshack never asked for a crown, but empires rose where he stood, subscribed to honor the men who built dynasties, and never demanded credit. John Benjamin Toshack was born on 22nd of March 1949 in Canton, Cardiff, to a Scottish father named George and a Welsh mother, Joan. His father, a carpenter, moved to Wales while serving in the RAF. His childhood was discipline and drive, but not the loud kind. He moved through school quietly, French and history, clean O-levels, and on muddy pitches he played everything, rugby, cricket, football, until a fractured shoulder ended the rest. Only football remained. By 16, he was training with Cardiff City's first team. 13th of November 1965, Cardiff versus Leyton Orient. Toshack made his debut, aged 16 years, 236 days. He didn't just step on the pitch, he scored. He became Cardiff's youngest ever first-team player. No ceremony, no noise, just one goal, and the beginning. Over the next 5 seasons, he scored 74 league goals in 162 matches, forming a ruthless strike pairing with Brian Clark and turning Ninian Park into a proving ground. Big clubs noticed. Fulham wanted him, others circled, but Toshack waited. He wasn't chasing lights. He was watching for structure, for vision. And in November 1970, the call came from the north. Anfield, Bill Shankly, Liverpool. And the calmest forward in Britain walked straight into the fire. The fee was £111,000, but what Liverpool got was worth far more. They didn't just buy a striker, they found a missing piece. John Toshack arrived from Cardiff like a red monolith. Quiet, unshaken, ready. He didn't dance or dazzle. He stood, he absorbed, he served. And beside him, a young Kevin Keegan hungry to fly. Toshack was the launch pad, the protector, the rhythm behind the flair. They didn't need words. The knockdowns, the flicks, the unselfish runs. It just worked. One went to war. The other ran free. Together they turned defenses to dust. Around them, Highway with speed, Ray Kennedy with vision, Emlyn Hughes with fire, Shankly in the shadows, watching it all burn brighter. And while others lifted their arms to the crowd, Toshack walked back to halfway, always ready for the next. Between 1970 and 1978, he helped Liverpool conquer everything. They took the league title in 1973, then again in 1976, and once more in 1977. Toshack, steady in the trenches. He was there in the FA Cup win of 74 and both UEFA Cup triumphs, 1973 and 1976, not as a superstar, but as a structure. And then, the crown, the European Cup in 1977, when Liverpool ruled all of Europe. He was injured for the final, but his fingerprints were all over the path. Later that year, they added the UEFA Super Cup, dismantling Hamburg 6-0. Toshack, again, played his part. He scored 96 goals in 247 appearances. Internationally, Toshack earned 40 caps and scored 13 goals for Wales from 1969 to 1980, including a hat-trick against Scotland in 1979. But never screamed for attention, because the game was never about glory. It was about control, and yet, even machines wear down. The legs that held up Keegan's fire were beginning to flicker. For years, he had taken the hits, shoulders locked, elbows raised, backs to goal, boots to shins. John Toshack was a man who played through pain. But by the mid-70s, the pain started playing through him. There was no drama, just a quiet signal from the legs, the calves, the knees, and then came the diagnosis: muscle calcification, degeneration, the kind that doesn't go away. Doctors told him, "You may have 12 months left at this level." Even Shankly, who once called him a giant, knew what was coming. He missed the 1977 European Cup final, the crowning moment, not because he wasn't good enough, but because his body refused to follow his mind. A move to Anderlecht was lined up, but the medical team pulled out. Too risky, too broken, injury became exile. From Anfield's roar to the silence of doubt, Toshack began to feel it. The game he mastered was slipping from his boots, but not from his brain. And so, before the lights faded, he made a decision few would dare: to take a club from the bottom of English football and rebuild it. Not as a player, but as a player-manager. That club was Swansea City. And the next chapter wasn't about goals. It was about architecture. March 1978. At just 29 years old, Swansea City weren't broken. They were forgotten, crowds thin, morale thinner. But Toshack didn't come to restore pride. He came to redesign the blueprint, and he brought soldiers with him: Ian Callaghan, Tommy Smith, Phil Boersma, fellow survivors from Anfield's battleground. Not past it, just underused. Together they formed a wall of experience that would drag Swansea upward. 1977-78, promotion. 1978-79, promotion again. 1980-81, First Division, top flight. 3 promotions in 4 seasons. Not luck, not hype, design, discipline, blood. Toshack didn't just change Swansea's status, he changed its soul. Ninian Park had shaped him, but now the Vetch Field became his cathedral. And he was rewarded. BBC Wales Sports Personality of the Year in 1981, MBE in 1982, featured on This Is Your Life in 1982. For a brief moment, Swansea walked among giants. Because one man believed they didn't need to be rich, just rebuilt right. But football, as always, never stays still. And the same fire that elevated him began to pull him toward Europe. When the dust settled in Swansea, he didn't wait to be celebrated. He turned away toward challenge, toward Europe, toward silence and pressure. He briefly returned as manager in 1984, having already led the club to Welsh Cup victories in 1981, 1982 and 1983. 1984. Sporting CP in Portugal came calling. It was short, it was fierce, and it opened the door to something greater: Spain. Real Sociedad. Not a giant, not a favorite. But Toshack didn't seek safety. He sought shape. In a league of politics and poetry, he brought British clarity. And in 1987, they lifted the Copa del Rey, beating Atletico Madrid on penalties. The Basque club, rooted in tradition, rose under a Welsh commander. That success changed everything. Because in 1989, Real Madrid came knocking. Now it wasn't rebuilding, it was managing royalty. Under Toshack, Real Madrid's attack erupted. The team scored a record 107 goals in La Liga in 1989-90, and the side won the title. Breathtaking, ruthless, statistical history. But the Bernabeu doesn't do patience. His second season began rocky, and by November 1990, he was gone. Still, his reputation held. No longer just a former striker, Toshack returned to Real Sociedad 1991-94, 2002, took charge of Real Madrid again 1999, then led clubs across Europe and beyond. Deportivo La Coruña, Besiktas, winning the Turkish Cup in 1998, Saint-Etienne, Catania, Real Murcia, and national sides like Macedonia. He later won silverware with Khazar Lankaran, winning the Azerbaijan Super Cup in 2013, Wydad Casablanca winning the league in 2015, and even coached in Iran with Tractor in 2018. He was now a football mind, trusted across continents. In Spain, they called him El Cerebro Galés, the Welsh brain. And even decades later, when he walked into a stadium in San Sebastian, the crowd rose. No ceremony, just thousands standing for a man who left footprints far from home. He had built clubs, lifted trophies in foreign tongues, managed Madrid's chaos with a calm face. But there was one place that never looked at him the same. Home. Wales, In 1994, they offered him the manager's chair, but the seat was hot before he sat down. Public fallout from his predecessor, media pressure, and fan unrest. Toshack led just one match, a friendly against Norway. It ended in defeat. He walked away after just 47 days, not from the nation, but from the noise that came with it. A decade passed, then in 2004 he came back, older, sharper, unshaken. This time he came not for glory. He came to rebuild. He took over a fractured side, aging players, early retirements, withdrawals, injuries, and through it all, he stayed firm. No begging, no headlines, just the work. "What I'm not going to do," he said, "is go cap in hand begging players to play for their country." He didn't qualify for major tournaments, but he gave debuts to youth who would one day carry the flag forward. By 2010, the tide turned again. A poor start to Euro qualifying. The knives came out. Toshack left the role by mutual consent, as always with no fanfare. They called him a target man. But John Toshack was never built for just headers and hold-up play. He was built to build the game, to shape what others would run through. Even at Liverpool, he played like a manager in disguise, reading patterns, controlling tempo, always thinking 2 moves ahead. But vision comes at a price. In 1976, he released a poetry book. Gosh, it's Tosh. No fanfare. Just words, quiet proof that even the hardest minds sometimes think in lines. He never asked for a testimonial. There's no statue, no chant that echoes his name in every stadium. But John Toshack's influence is everywhere. At Cardiff, he broke in at 16 and never looked back. At Liverpool, he became the pillar behind the glory. At Swansea, he built a club from the ruins. And across Spain, Portugal, Turkey, and beyond, he became the quiet tactician other managers studied. He managed Real Madrid, lifted trophies in San Sebastian, and reshaped a nation's football with Wales. Not through noise, but through structure. And when the camera wasn't on him, he was still building. Players, systems, futures. Some men shout to be remembered. Toshack never needed to. He taught us that legacy isn't volume, it's weight. In 2025, Real Sociedad honored him with the diamond and gold badge. Today, he lives away from the spotlight, now aged 76. He has spent his later years between Spain and Wales, after recovering from a serious COVID-19 battle in 2022. He married Susan Ban on 7th of June 1969. They were married for 43 years before divorcing in 2012. In recent years, he's kept a low profile. Press reports from his 2022 hospital stay mention a partner named Maite at his side. His son, Cameron Toshack, has followed him into coaching. Subscribe to Honor the Minds, the Builders, the Quiet Giants of Football,